Okay, in this video, we're talking about how to interpret a histogram. We're not going to worry about making them in 7th grade, but we're just going to worry about answering questions by looking at them. So this one's about hours spent playing video games on the weekends. So here you can see that we have the number of hours on the x-axis, and then we have number of students on the y-axis. A histogram is like a bar chart, except the bars are touching, and it's a interval down here. So like this first one is saying that this first bar is how many students played 0 to 4 hours. And so if there's a number 5 here, that 5 is included in the column to the right. So this one is only 0 to 4 hours. If I look at the next column, this is students who played 5 to 9 hours. So again, the 10 is pushed over into the column to the right, because the 10 can't be in this column and in the next column. Okay, so if I look at all these, so this is 5 to 9 hours. Next one is 10 to 14 hours. Then we have 15 to 19 hours. And then 20 to 24. If we had another column to the right here, that would have 25 in that column. Okay, so this is saying that, this giving us how many students played each of these number of hours. So if I look here, I can see that 2 students played 0 to 5 hours, because it's the height of 2. We have 3 students that played 5 to 9 hours. We have 4 students that played 10 to 14 hours. Here we have 7 students that played 15 to 19 hours. And then we have 9 students that played 20 to 24 hours on the weekends. And then anyone that played more than that wasn't included on this graph. So the first question is asking how many students are represented in this histogram. So for that, I'm just going to add up all the numbers here, because this is saying that there's 9 students in this interval, 7 in this one, 4, 3, and 2. So if I add all those up, I'm going to get that 25 students are represented in this histogram. So they interviewed 25 students to see how much they played on the weekends. All right, number 2, how many students play more than 15 hours of video games on the weekend? Well, if I'm looking at the chart here, that means I'm looking at this line here. So I'm seeing how many students are in this section here that played more than 15. So I'm going to add up the 9 and the 7. So that means that there's 16 students that, there's 16 students that played more than 15 hours. All right, number 3. How many students play more than 5 hours but less than 15 hours of video games on the weekend? Okay, so we're looking at more than 5 hours, so that's here, but less than 15, so that's going to be here. So I'm looking at the students in this section right here. Okay, so it looks like I have 3 students plus 4 students, which means that there's 7 students who play between 5 and 15 hours. Okay, last question. What percent of students play less than 5 hours of video games on the weekend? Okay, so this one's asking for percent. Oops. Okay, sorry. So let's see. So first, let's find out how many students played less than 5 hours. So that's going to be this number right here. So we have 2 students out of 25 who played less than 5 hours, but it wants to know what the percent is. So remember, one way to turn a fraction into a percent is I can say, well, I know that if I have 100 on the bottom, that'll give me my percent. So if I multiply by my giant 1, 25 times 4 is 100, 2 times 4 is 8. So that's, because it's 8 hundredths, the decimal is 0.08, which turns into 8%. Or I can do long division. I put the 2 inside the house and 25 outside. I get 0.08, and then that would turn into 8%. So there's 8% of students that played less than 5 hours of video games on the weekends.